Welcome back. Today we join a solitary builder as she transforms a remote jungle streamed into a permanent, self-sustaining camp. Working entirely alone with only a few hand tools, the immediate priority is getting a shelter off the damp ground before nightfall. Green bamboo is selected for the primary load-bearing members. When freshly cut, the wood retains enough moisture to be flexible, absorbing the shock of mallet strikes without splitting. A simple mortise and tenon joint forms the base geometry. By sinking horizontal crossbars directly into the upright posts, she creates a rigid skeleton that shifts compressive forces away from the bindings and directly into the timber. The foundation must withstand a constant, shifting current. Beyond the immediate work zone, the canyon narrows into a natural catchment basin. The sheer rock walls offer a thermal mass that will regulate ambient temperature. Access to clean, flowing water dictates everything about this location. It provides structural clay, natural refrigeration, and hydration. The site is unforgiving but resourceful. With the work area defined, vertical stanchions are locked into a rectangular grid. This stage requires constant micro-adjustments. Every millimeter out of plumb at the base amplifies into severe structural weakness at the roofline. Driving the bamboo flush forces the fibers to compress against one another, creating an interference fit. Wood swells in high humidity, and these friction joints will naturally tighten as they acclimate to the jungle atmosphere. Using horizontal supports at waist height prevents the taller corner columns from buckling under their own weight. The structural integrity relies on opposing forces. When a joint seats too loosely, a hand-carved wedge eliminates the dead space. Shaving these shims requires a precise understanding of the grain. If the taper is too steep, the wedge will back out under load. Driven deep into the cavity, the shim locks the timber in a state of constant tension. Trimming the excess material flush is not just an aesthetic choice. Protruding edges create catch points for vines and trap stagnant moisture, which accelerates rot. A clean profile ensures the structure sheds water seamlessly. Working in an active watercourse adds a layer of complexity to the assembly. The builder uses her own body weight to maneuver the upper beams into their mortises. Bedrock below the stream provides a solid anchor point, but the rushing water constantly threatens to undermine the footings. Setting the foundation directly into the current demands perfectly aligned crossbeams to resist lateral drift. The frame must remain pliable enough to absorb wind shear, yet rigid enough to hold the dead load of a heavy roof. Heavy river stones are packed around the base posts, acting as scour protection against flash floods. To counter diagonal torsion, a cross brace is wedged between the vertical members. Even with tight joinery, a structure this tall requires lashing to survive sudden impacts. Natural fiber rope binds the intersections, wrapping tightly around the chamfered edges. As the cordage absorbs ambient moisture from the waterfall, it shrinks slightly. The knots cinch down. The platform decking is split from mature culms and laid flat to form a ventilated floor. Tying the strips down from underneath protects the bindings from direct foot traffic and weather exposure. Elevating the living space above the waterline is critical for thermal isolation. It prevents heat theft. A few hours later, the focus shifts to waterproofing. Broad ponds are harvested from the surrounding canopy to construct the roof panels. Fresh leaves are pliable enough to weave without cracking the central spine. By folding the fronds over a thin batten, she creates a dense, overlapping shingle system. The natural waxy coating on the leaves acts as a hydrophobic barrier. Working from the bottom edge upward is the universal rule of thatching. Each new tier covers the bindings of the row below it, ensuring that heavy monsoon rain cascades down the surface without ever penetrating the substructure. The most vulnerable point of any A-frame roof is the apex. Lashing a thick crown of folded fronds over the central ridgepole taps the structure, sealing out vertical drafts. Vine cordage is pulled taut around the bamboo rafters, locking the heavy thatch panels against the threat of severe updrafts. Overlapping the eaves beyond the perimeter of the deck directs runoff far away from the living quarters. The skeleton is now a shelter. The internal space is instantly darker, cooler, and entirely shielded from the elements. With the camp secured, the builder turns to environmental engineering. Constructing a curved retaining wall alters the stream's natural flow, intentionally backing up the current to form a deep plunge pool. Packing wet clay into the stone crevices seals the gaps, forcing the water level to rise over the lip. The surrounding jungle remains a dynamic, unpredictable native. Construction must coexist with the native wildlife. Late in the afternoon, the focus shifts to a handcrafted mud kiln on the riverbank. Splitting dried hardwood provides high surface area, kindling to establish a rapid draft. The beehive shape of the clay oven is engineered for extreme thermal efficiency. As the fire catches in the lower chamber, cold air is drawn in through the base, accelerating combustion. The thick mud walls act on as an insulating heat sink, absorbing energy from the flames and radiating it evenly throughout the interior vault. Properly roasting heavy cuts of meat requires penetrating flavor and sustained, indirect heat. Scoring the pork ribs severs the tough connective tissues, preventing the rack from curling as it cooks. It also allows the dry rub of turmeric and chili to draw out surface moisture, creating a savory crust. Hanging the ribs vertically inside the upper chamber keeps them away from the direct flames. The meat will slowly smoke and render. Cooking rice inside a sealed bamboo segment is an ancient, highly effective wilderness technique. The green wood holds a tremendous amount of internal moisture, which prevents the tube from burning in the fire. Steeping the sealed cylinders in the cool stream water beforehand maximizes their heat resistance. Positioned in the upper tier of the kiln, alongside the pork, the bamboo acts as a natural pressure cooker. The rice steams perfectly inside its own protective shell. The long hours of careful preparation yield a perfect roast. Wood smoke and spices have transformed the raw ingredients into a rich, sustaining meal, while the bamboo-steamed rice provides essential carbohydrates. The final phase of any successful build is simply inhabiting the space. A rescued macaque, nursing an injury, shares in the harvest. What began as an empty stretch of river rocks is now a functioning sanctuary. Structure, landscape, and daily routine operate as one system, a place that produces, protects, and sustains itself. Some quiet corners of the forest provide exactly what is needed.